Alright, I know I left you guys on kind of a cliffhanger on last video. So we got the old trans loaded up. We got a bucket of add old fluid. So we're gonna take this, go drop that off for the core. And right now we are working on filling the trans. I think we were about 2 quarts low. We just need to get everything bled out and whatnot. So I'm just waiting on everything I put in the dipstick to come down. No fender flares, mirrors down. I don't know how I feel about that, but I did find somebody, so we're gonna be putting a lift kit on a truck next week, and then this one's coming down. So that's finally gonna happen. But first drive, we're in about 3rd, 4th right now, at least it says. I want to see how lockup feels. I think we have to be doing about 50 for it to finally lock up. I'm not trying to beat the hell out of it yet, just kind of going through its paces. I'm going to try to there we go, there's lockup. Oh wow. Oh, and there's a mower. Alright, so we got it into lockup, and then there was someone in the road, so like, it locks up though. No converter issue there. It's just kind of weird that, I don't know, you guys will see. You know what? Let's do tow haul mode. Give it a little bit more of an aggressive shift. Not gonna beat it up. Oh yeah. There's 3rd locked. There's 4th locked. Alright, I unlocked it, but there you go. So we're gonna go get this dropped off quick, and then we're gonna go back, load up the bike, load up some stuff, and then call it a day. So this socket has been stuck right there since we did the springs. 6 months, I think it's been. You guys can go back and look, but we're putting stock springs on it now. These I have for a customer, and all he's got to do is get control arms, and we're gonna put the 4-inch lift on his truck. So let's get the stock springs in. Go. Well, needless to say, they are not gonna work. Way too small, and even in there. So got a new set coming next week, but they will not work. All right, bike is strapped. Not the greatest thing in the world, but it'll do. I'm gonna drop this at the house. We're gonna go grab Otis's wheels and hopefully get that out of here today, and test and see how this thing tows. What's this, like 500 pounds, something like that, so it'll be all right. A bunch of parts, tools, all that stuff. Put this back down. We're good to go. Alright, I think we got the neighbor coming over to help, but here's what we got. It's ugly, but it should work. I need one of them locks that are in the trailer. I need to put one of them up there, but it should work. Just waiting on him to come over. We'll slide it down and hope all goes well. Alright, Saturday, later in the day. This is kind of where we're at right now. I'm just grabbing the wheels off of Otis. I got the fuel tank. Looks like the frame is getting pretty gnarly, northern. So it is what it is. Glad I decided just to part this thing out. I have a guy coming because he wants the front of the frame. But that's what's holding this up. Don't worry, if this were to fall, I still have literally a million times room in here. Liam could drop the jack all the way down and I'd still be fine. So I'm gonna drop this down, put it on the ground, get the other side, and then basically I sold the entire truck. He needs the front section of the frame, so he can have the cab and the bed for scrap, and then the rear axle, it is an open rear, so I should, yeah, you guys can see that. I am able to spin one side, so open, I think it's open rear. Yeah, definitely open rear. So now we'll get the other side off. I got the fuel tank sitting there. So we're gonna take the rest of the diesel out of that and put that in my tank. And there's still a bunch of stuff in the bed that the guy I repoed this from still has not came and got. So I gotta figure that out. But now we're gonna get... So I pulled the fuel tank and I'm like, there can't be that much fuel. And I thought there was like a half a tank or something. So I pulled the tank thing off. All of this is going into Bertha. Look at how much fuel. Dude, this is a full tank right here that I've already paid for and put in this truck. Actually, I think Josh did, to be honest. I think Josh is the one who filled this because he was borrowing the truck and he just kept putting money into it and the fuel gauge was like wrong and never worked anyway. So I am very, very glad that I decided to pull that. And my dad told me to bring 5-gallon buckets and I'm like, I don't think I have enough. And don't touch that. There's probably about 30 gallons in there. So I'm gonna grab that, this last wheel, and the hood, and then the rest of this, fair game. All right, that's where we're gonna leave it. Just waiting on 2 people to come get their shit, and then we done. But other than that, this is how Otis looks before he goes and gets, well, probably to the crusher, to be honest. But that's it for me for today. Now we're gonna go back to the shop, drop this stuff off, get this tank of fuel in my truck. I'm gonna put it in the aux tank. But let's get out of here. I think I've dumped. This is about the 6th one. We're gonna fill the 7th about here. I'm not going the whole way up on these, but I made a little bit of a mess, but she'll be all right. You got a bargain there. All right, so it's finally time. We went and bought an NV5600 for the truck, but that won't be here till Wednesday. So we got some goodies to do this thing today. We went and checked the oil, just drove it here so it's still hot. Oil is friggin' perfect. All these new parts and whatnot. I know we have, if we come back here and look, we do have so, like I was saying, we have push rods, heavy duty push rods, and we are replacing all of the exhaust studs with these. So we're going to be pulling, which I hope he has exhaust manifold gaskets. So we're going to be replacing these shitty bolts you can see right there. We're going to be replacing those because those are a pain in the ass. We're going to be replacing them with studs. And I'm probably going to start ripping down some of his insulation because I can see it melting on the exhaust manifold back there, and that's a fire hazard. So besides that, we have a valve adjustment. We're going to do a hot retorque. So we're going to do all of this today, the hot retorque and all that stuff, and then tomorrow morning or Wednesday morning, whenever we get the trans, because we'll probably end up pulling the trans out of this either tomorrow or Wednesday. So what I'm thinking is before we start the truck up, in the morning, we're going to do a valve adjustment on it because you can't do the valve adjustment when it's hot. So you definitely want it to be sitting for at least 8 hours. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm just waiting on her to come pick me up because we had to drive this here today. So I need to go get my other vehicle so that I can at least drive home after we're done with this today, because this is going to sit. We are also going to be checking for boost leaks. So obviously you can never... It's always a good idea to check for boost leaks. So this truck's pushing 35 pounds of boost right now. No idea why. We threw this exact same everything on it. So we will see. We're going to get all that, and I'll show you guys once we get back. Alright, here's what we're pulling out. Obviously doing these 2 at a time. And these, from Power Driven, are what we are putting in. These are Stage 2 Power Drivens. Freaking, here you can see the differences and whatnot. So there's the ends, there's those. We're gonna get these thrown in. Now, I know I keep going over this point, but this is why Josh blew the head gasket the one time. It's don't do these all at one time. Use Josh's mistake to not do it, especially on a hot engine. So those are fit in perfectly. You only want to do one of these at a time. So we're going to put this back on, and we're going to torque it down. I think we're doing 130 on these, 130 foot-pounds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all this, you know, do these all. And once this is all done, we're going to get the engine up to, you know, decent operating temp. And we're going to do a hot retorque on everything, all said and done. But we're not going to do this now. We're going to do it when it can be consistent, because it's going to take me time to do each one of these individually. So we're going to get it all done, retorque them where they need to be, and then go through and do the hot retorque, and then tomorrow we'll do the valve adjustment. So, because this this will change the valve adjustment that was on it. Because one, you're retorquing these, so these will either be tighter or looser, one or the other. Probably tighter, more than likely. All right, all of the push rods are in. We've got everything torqued down to 130 foot-pounds. So, next step, I think we're going to work on getting the exhaust off and working on replacing these bolts. Actually, luckily enough, I don't actually have to replace the gaskets. I thought about that. I'm like, oh man, we got to pull everything off. I completely forgot. We're literally just going to pop the new ones on. No need to. We can do one at a time, bam, 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 the whole way down, torque them down to their 37 foot-pounds, call it a day. All right, so they give you the instructions on these. Basically, it's, you know, bottom them out, kind of like back them off a little bit, put them in snug. There's the difference between those. I got the first 4 in. Now we're just working on the last set. And keep in mind, if you're doing this from scratch, you need to start from the middle and work your way out. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you know, so on and so forth. Since these are already torqued to the 40 foot-pounds that these are calling for, we are basically just, you know, going to go front to back. It's no different. We're basically just replacing one product with another. It's kind of like doing the one-on-one method with the head studs. You do, at the end, want them to all be equal, but as long as, you know, with head studs, as long as you're replacing them one at a time, it doesn't matter where you start. And then at the end, you can come back in and give them a final torque. But as long as they're all around 100 foot-pounds on that. But with these, it's 40 is what they're calling for. Factory specs like 37. We generally shoot for in between 40, 42. So, all right. So while it's running, we're gonna get this thing as hot as I can, so we can do a hot retorque. But we got everything done. I went and checked boost leak tester. There's 2 bolts. That one there and that one there that were like, it was a major boost leak. So what we're gonna do is we are throwing injectors in this eventually. So not today. So what I did was I just put the RTV on them, which is what Power Driven recommends for the back of their turbos. So I know it'll hold. So we're gonna run it like that. I'm gonna do a hot retorque now. I just did a valve adjustment, even though it was a little warm, I had to. When you put all those new ones in, they're actually a slight bit longer. So I had to back all that off. So it had to get a valve adjustment that was warm, and tomorrow we're gonna do a valve adjustment when it's cold, but we gotta do the hot retorque first, so I'll get that done. And then we're gonna throw everything back together once that's all done, and we will do an injectors and a new gasket on the plenum when it's time to pull the injectors. So we're gonna get her up to temp, let her idle for a while. Liam, all these boxes you can throw in the trash, or in the burn barrel. There you go. I'll let it idle up to about 150, because this thing never goes in between the middle. I thought he said he put a different thermostat in it, but it never actually warms up to 200 degrees, which is odd. You definitely want these trucks running around 200 degrees. You want them warm. So several times later, we're gonna call it. Today, I have these on here loose, just to kind of cover everything up, same thing with that. So we're gonna pull all the valve covers off first thing in the morning, and the air filter, we're gonna do another valve adjustment. That way it's cold. And we're also going to check for boost leaks, make sure the RTV dried. If all is well, then we're going to start checking into injectors, which then in that case, we are going to be pulling the intake plenum and replacing the gasket, because, I mean, we're going to have to. It's better just to do it while it's out, not a big deal. I know we've replaced it before, but it's just one of those gaskets blow out and this and that, but that was a major boost leak. So, we were going to adjust the wastegate. It's where it was before, so I want to see exactly how much boost this thing runs before we put the injectors and before we, and after we fix the boost leak. So we're gonna call it here, set this thing off. It does run. Josh still needs a, the thing that turns the fuel on. So besides that, she's ready to go for the day. And then Thursday, we're gonna pull the trans on Wednesday, and then Thursday the NV5600 will be here. So fingers crossed that the drive shafts all line up and everything. I was told they do, but I think the yoke is different, so we have to figure that out. But we're going to try to get the trans in, modify the cross member, and we'll go from there. So if you guys need anything, feel free, cpstevemiller.com. Appreciate you guys for your feedback, and I will see you guys in the next video.